Back in July, Joe Biden gave a press conference to a select number of reporters. And while the campaign thought that they had all of the questions pre-approved, towards the end, one reporter stood up and asked Joe Biden point blank whether he has ever been tested for mental decline. Joe Biden responded by saying, yes, he's been tested. He is being constantly tested.
Last question real quick. Some have speculated, sir, that you are subject to some degree of cognitive decline. I'm 65. I don't have word recollection that I used to have. I forget my train of thought from time to time. You got 12 years on me, sir. Have you been tested for some degree of cognitive decline?
I've been tested and I'm constantly tested. Look, all I got to do is watch me, and I can hardly wait to compare my cognitive capability to the cognitive capability of the man I'm running against. Thank you so much.
So that's interesting. Joe Biden was asked whether he has ever been cognitively tested for mental decline, cognitive decline, and he responded by saying, yes, I am tested, I am constantly tested, and I cannot wait to basically prove to the world that I'm not losing my mind. That kicked off not a complete media cycle, because the left, CNN, MSNBC, didn't want to cover it, but it started reporters asking a lot more questions. What do you mean by you're constantly tested? And what we said at the time is the only reason that someone would be constantly tested, constantly given these cognitive function tests, would be to track decline. Most people, if you think something's wrong, you give them the test. If they pass, then there's no reason for another test, unless obviously it gets worse. The only reason that someone would be constantly tested is if it was obvious that they were in decline, and they would take the test over and over again so that doctors could use those data points to track the decline. I mean, I put it simply, to track how long it will be until the person loses their mind. That is the reason that cognitive function tests are constantly given to patients. If you're all there, you're not constantly taking these tests. So it didn't take long for the Biden campaign to realize that and say, whoa, we need to walk this back. No, Joe Biden isn't constantly tested. The claim was that what Joe Biden meant is that he's constantly tested by life, and that his experience in life is constantly testing him and proving that he is not losing his mind. He is all there.
This came up the other day in that press conference he held, first time in 89 days. And the question came from Doug McElway. And when he was asked about it, he said, I've been tested with regard to cognitive ability, and I'm constantly tested. I just didn't know what that test entailed, Kate.
Well, first of all, he's been tested every single day that he's been on the campaign trail. You know, he went through 12 debates in the Democratic primary. He defeated 25 other candidates to become the Democratic nominee.
Got it. Just to be clear, this wasn't a mental test that he took then, right? You're talking about being tested in life.
Being tested, being out on the campaign trail every day, running for president of the United States. But look, this is a really...
Imagine that. We actually got a little bit of honesty from Joe Biden, because he was forced to go off script. He was forced to go off script and answer a question, and he said, don't worry, I'm constantly tested. And yet here is his deputy campaign manager coming out and saying, well, what he meant by constantly tested is not that they're actually testing his mental decline. It's that life has just constantly been testing him, and he's been passing those tests. It's such a pathetic spin, but it shows that you're onto something. When a deputy campaign manager comes out and refutes something that was clear as day. Have you been tested for cognitive decline? Yes, I am constantly being tested. To come out and say, no, he actually meant he's being tested by life repeatedly. No one believes it. Well, now Joe Biden has changed his tune again. And instead of saying that he's even being tested by life, he's saying that he has not received any cognitive test.
Have you taken a cognitive test?
No, I haven't taken a test. Why the hell would I take a test? Come on, man. That's like saying before you got in this program, if you take a test where you're taking cocaine or not, what do you think, huh? Are you a junkie?
What do you say to President Trump, who brags about his test and makes your mental state an issue for voters?
Well, if he can't figure out the difference between an elephant and a lion, I don't know what the hell he's talking about. Did you watch that? Look, come on, man. I know you're trying to goad me, but I mean, I'm so forward looking to have an opportunity to sit with the president or stand with the president in debates. There's going to be plenty of time. And by the way, as I joke with him, I shouldn't say it. I'm going to say something I probably shouldn't say. Anyway, I am very willing to let the American public judge my physical and mental my physical as well as my mental fitness.
Wow. So there's a lot to unpack there. First of all, he declines ever being mentally tested for his mental decline. If that is true, then he needs to be tested, because you don't need a medical license to tell that this man is clearly struggling. Two, when he lashes out at the reporter for asking the question, that's something that we've seen Joe Biden do a lot lately. Anytime he feels like a reporter is asking him a tough question, he lashes out. And we've seen his campaign actually cut the live feed during live interviews to stop reporters from asking questions. He lashes out at this interviewer and basically saying, well, are you tested for cocaine? Are you a junkie? Now, it's interesting, given his son's history with controlled substances, he might have a lot more experience with drug tests than mental capacity tests. That's completely possible. But the fact that he's lashing out tells you that this is hitting close to home. This is what Joe Biden looks like when he doesn't like what you're asking him, because he realizes it's hitting close to home. Then, even though he's just said he's never taken the test, he illustrates that he knows what's in the test, laughing that Donald Trump can be able to tell the difference between an elephant and a lion. That's part of the test. People are shown that and say, hey, what animals are these? And they're forced to remember the animals. And what's really interesting is Don Lemon took one of those tests live on the air on CNN to try and make fun of Donald Trump. And he got a hippopotamus and a rhinoceros confused. So it's interesting that Biden would actually cite what's in these kinds of tests as evidence that he doesn't know what the tests are. He's never taken one. But lastly, I think it's hilarious that in a little diatribe where he's saying he's perfectly mentally fit, he cannot get the word fitness out. At the end, you hear him stuttering, and I don't want to make fun of him for stuttering. Lots of people have stutters. That's fine. But that's not a stutter. That's Joe Biden reaching for the word in his brain. And if you heard it, instead of saying fitness, he started saying the word Phil. And he was like, Phil. He was having a hard time getting it out. Anyone who's had a family member suffer from dementia or mental decline or Alzheimer's, they know that you reach a point where you reach back for the word and it just doesn't come out. And it makes no sense, right? It's a word you use all the time. You reach for it and it's just not there. And you try and use a different word and it doesn't make sense. So very interesting in this whole exchange. I think we learned a lot about Joe Biden in this exchange. And it's hard for me to believe that anyone can watch this man and conclude that he has it all there, and conclude that he does not need to have his mental faculties tested. It's obvious that he does. Absolutely obvious that he does. But in a month, we've seen the complete flip-flop to him admitting that he's constantly tested. When the campaign realized what the connotation of that, what that means, saying, oh no, he's just being tested by life. And now Joe Biden saying he's never been tested. So tell me what you think. Leave a comment section below. Do you believe that Joe Biden has never been tested for mental decline? Do you think it is possible for everyone to see what we see going on with Joe and for no one to force him to take a test? Do you think it's possible? Leave a comment in the comment section below. Make sure you hit the like button and please do hit the share button. We want this to get out to as many people as possible, but we're being throttled. So the only way to do that is by you liking, commenting, and sharing to bust through the algorithms. Thank you.